because I'm working in a very new arena, and one that there's not very much infrastructure to support. There's no department of collaboration. There's no place on campus where people go to try to work through their collaboration issues. Not even the technical side, but certainly not the human side. So the barriers that I have in my research are that it's so new that there's really there's no institutional support. And there's very little, although there's a lot of awareness, I think, on the people who are working in CI. There's a lot of awareness that those collaboration issues exist because they deal with them every day. They have them themselves every day. And it's not just the technical side again. More often it's the human side.
The challenge is to find the two things. One is the standard that everybody can use and jump on and use easily. The other side of it is if you are in a program or department and you really need something specialized, that ought to be possible. And we talked a little bit about some of the barriers to that.
In terms of what other barriers exist in supporting my research, I would say the main ones are those two: having funds for renewing equipment and having some centralized mechanism for training students in the basics of using computers, so that when they come to our classes and to our research, they are already prepared so that we can focus on the more advanced things that we are best at.
Barriers and opportunities are often, two sides of the same coin. The barriers typically involve coordination of research computing activities, which is something that, even though it is an infrastructure to create such coordination schemes, it's not an underlying infrastructure, it's not a basic infrastructure, it's sort of an infrastructure that people in the field have to create on top of other infrastructures. The independent-minded nature of any traditional faculty member always produces a pressure to at least not pay attention to standards. And one has to take extra care to recognize at any given moment that a little time spent paying attention to a standard, trying to adhere to a standard, is probably a lot of time saved later in terms of research time. One of the ironies in cyber infrastructure, which may be unique to it as opposed to other infrastructures, is the potential inherent in information technologies. The opportunity space, the possible choices is so huge, and it's expanding so rapidly, typically faster than people are able to make sensible decisions about how to deal with it, that oftentimes a given moment in the history of cyber infrastructure gets frozen where the research community needs to go beyond that freezing point. And so they start to work around it. And working around anything requires effort. It is unfortunate that information technology moves so fast, but in fact, I think a well-designed information technology infrastructure probably should somehow incorporate that flexibility. And if that flexibility is there, researchers will feel comfortable with it. If inflexibility is present, researchers will either shy away from it, or when they run head onto it, they're going to somehow work around it. And one would hope that doesn't happen, because then money is probably being wasted somehow.